You're standing on a balcony overlooking the endless sea. Far below, the waves carry dozens of ships towards the horizon, their white sails slowly dissolving into the morning mist. One of those ships carries your husband. He looks back one last time, raises his hand, and smiles with the quiet confidence of someone convinced he'll return soon. You smile back because you believe him. There is no reason not to. Neither of you can imagine that this farewell will stretch across 20 years. When people tell the story of Penelope, they usually call her the faithful wife who waited for Odysseus. But that description has never felt complete. Waiting makes it sound as though her life stood still while history unfolded somewhere else. While legends were being written across the Mediterranean, another story was quietly taking shape on the island of Ithaca. It was a story without monsters or epic battles, yet it demanded just as much courage. When Odysseus sailed to Troy, their son Telemachus was still an infant, too young to remember the sound of his father's voice. At first, news traveled home with returning soldiers, bringing fragments of distant battles and whispered hope. Then the stories became fewer. Eventually, they stopped altogether. Psychologists tell us that uncertainty is one of the heaviest burdens the human mind can carry. We long for answers because certainty, even when painful, allows us to move forward. Penelope had no such certainty. She lived suspended between hope and grief, unable to embrace either one completely. While the world remembers Odysseus battling cyclopes and sea monsters, Penelope was fighting something far less visible: loneliness, fear, and responsibility. Then the suitors arrived. Powerful noblemen from across Greece filled the palace, not because they loved Penelope, because they wanted what Odysseus had left behind: his throne, his wealth, and his kingdom. Day after day, they feasted in his halls, laughing as though the palace already had belonged to them. And every day, they demanded the same answer: when will you choose one of us? Calmly, she told them she would choose a new husband only after she had finished weaving a burial shroud for her elderly father-in-law. Every morning she sat before her loom, patiently weaving a thread into cloth. Every evening, after the palace had fallen asleep, she returned in silence and carefully unraveled everything she had created that day. By sunrise, nothing remained except another opportunity to begin again. She repeated this quiet act of defiance for nearly 3 years. I've always found that image the embodiment of courage, not because she deceived the men surrounding her, but because she understood something many of us forget. Pressure does not always have to be confronted head-on. Sometimes survival means refusing to let other people decide the pace for your life. Eventually, someone discovered her secret. The illusion collapsed and the pressure returned stronger than ever. By then, however, something had changed, not in the palace, but within Penelope herself. 2 decades of uncertainty had transformed her into someone who no longer relied on hope alone. She relied on wisdom. Then, on what seemed like an ordinary day, a beggar appeared at the palace gates. His clothes were worn, his face weathered by years at sea, and no one recognized him. Penelope could have surrendered to the hope she had carried for so long. Instead, she chose caution. She ordered the servants to move her marriage bed. The stranger stared at her in disbelief. "The bed cannot be moved," he replied. "I built it around the trunk of a living olive tree." In that single sentence, 20 years had vanished. Only one man could have known that secret. People often say Penelope's greatest strength was her patience. I think it was something even greater. She never allowed fear to persuade her to betray herself. She protected her son, preserved her kingdom, and held on to her dignity when nearly everyone around her expected her to surrender. Perhaps that's why her story has endured for almost 3,000 years. Sooner or later, everyone experiences a season in which life refuses to provide clear answers. A season filled with uncertainty, pressure, and the temptation to settle simply because waiting has become unbearable. Penelope reminds us that true strength is not always found in dramatic action. Sometimes it is found in restraint, in quiet wisdom, and in trusting yourself enough to wait for the truth instead of rushing towards uncertainty. The world remembers Odysseus for the extraordinary journey he made across the sea. Yet perhaps the more remarkable journey was the one Penelope made without ever leaving home.